Hello again, this is Danny, second part of my testimony. Last time I finished off by saying that I'd gone away from God, basically, from the Bible studies with Brother Jermaine, from wanting to know about God. I didn't feel like I could commit to it, that it wasn't really me, or whatever excuses I listened to in my own head, or like I now know is from the enemy of souls, which is Satan. Those thoughts don't just pop into your head out of nowhere, even though we think they do. And I got deceived into going the wrong way, down the wrong path, the easy path, because it's always easy to go back to irresponsibility, sleeping around, partying, drinking, eating what you want, doing what you want. It doesn't take any self-control. It doesn't take a man to do that. There's no resistance. There's no discipline. You wouldn't have a soldier in an army that had no self-control. So anyway, I've gone back to that lifestyle, and yeah, it was a dark time, really. After all the string of affairs, one-night stands, heartbreak, the same cycle, you go through, you end up sleeping with a girl, and then emotionally you get connected, but you're not matched. You might be mated, but you're not matched. And so it's painful when you break apart. That's why God never intended that to happen. That intimate act of sex, to put it bluntly, it's supposed to be after marriage. And you're supposed to have a deep friendship and bond together first. And the brain that God created is smart. It's like, say you drive down a road every day. And it's say it's a dirt road or whatever, the track gets deeper and it gets more pronounced. The more just like if anyone's walking along a track as well. And that's like our thoughts and our actions when we repeatedly do think things which lead to the same actions, because as we think, we end up doing often. We basically make those tracks in our mind, and they can be very negative. And how was I even going to get into a serious relationship? Because after all that madness, I was like, right, I want a proper girlfriend now, and it'd be nice to go towards having a family, because I think that's every man's desire, really. God's put it in them. But how could I even think like? How could I even do that after training myself to do the opposite? It doesn't make any sense. Yet the world tells you to do that, do as you feel, and do now, do today. It encourages everything that is immoral, everything that is against being faithful to one other person, So anyway, I'm with this girl. I really like her, and I tried to make it work, but I couldn't stop looking at other women. I was messed up in my own mind, confused whether she was right for me and all these other things, but inevitably we ended up sleeping together, and I was addicted to her then, because that's what it boils down to. It's like an addiction, and that's why it's meant to be the seal for marriage, sex. It's meant to be it's like getting two jigsaw pieces that don't fit and gluing them together. When you realise they don't fit, you try and pull apart, it's going to create damage to the pieces, to both parties, at least one. Whereas if it's the right jigsaw pieces come together and then they're glued, they're supposed to be like that, and it only makes the bond stronger. So that's that's an analogy to maybe help you understand. I hope it does. That's how I think about it. And so I couldn't settle anyway, and I cried out to God. I ended up, the relationship counselling didn't work. They only told me what I knew already. So I ended up just breaking down to God, pouring my heart out, and I was in floods of tears, and I just said, God, if you're there, I need you. I can't do this anymore. I'm a mess. I can't commit to nothing. And that peace that 2 years prior I received when I went to church with Brother Jermaine and his friends, and when they laid their hands on me and prayed, I felt it flood in again, and I was just on my own. And it's actually in the middle of a field somewhere, because I'd just gone for a walk to try and clear my head, and I just didn't care what I looked like, who might be watching. I was just I was desperate. That's where I was at. And often I think people just turn to the wrong things when they're desperate, like drugs or drink or whatever. But it never changes anything. It's just like burying your head in the sand. But when in your desperation you turn to God, things change. And I'm a living testimony of that. So anyway, that week I had the word Jeremiah in my head all week, and the number 3, and I was like, where's this from? I didn't even know it was a book in the Bible, but yet it popped into my head out of nowhere. I'd never seen it before. And I had Jermaine's number, so I rang him up. It was like, yes, Danny, a long time, what's been going on? And I said, oh, you wouldn't believe it, it's been crazy. And we had a quick catch up, and basically I said what had happened, and then I was like, I want to come back to God, and I feel his peace again. This word's been in my head all week, this number. I was like, is it in the Bible or what? Like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, it's a book in the Bible. And I was like, I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was. I thought it was some music video or something that I'd watched. There's a music artist called Jeremiah anyway. But yeah, then the number 3 popped up. I thought it was very strange. But he said, yeah, God wants you to read Jeremiah chapter 3. So I dusted off an old Bible on my shelf in my house, parents' house, and then I looked at it, Jeremiah 3, and it said the following. I've just got the Bible with me now. I read it, and it says, they say if a man divorces his wife and she goes from him and becomes another man's, may he return unto her again. Would not that land be greatly polluted? But you've played the harlot, which basically means like a prostitute with your body, and spiritually. Says you played the harlot with many lovers, yet return to me, says the Lord. So like, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, well, it does make sense, but I was like, how does, unless God's real, he wouldn't, how, I don't even know the Bible, yet this came to mind. And it's basically saying that God's seen me act like a prostitute, gone away from him with many lovers. Yet he wants me to come back to him. I just couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, and I carried on reading. And he said that God says, well, will I remain angry forever? And I just thought, wow, like, what, he actually wants to forgive me for this? And he goes on to say, return backsliding Israel. So he's talking about God's people. Says the Lord, I will not cause my anger to fall on you, for I am merciful, says the Lord. I will not remain angry forever. Only acknowledge your iniquity, which just means your wrongdoings, that you've transgressed, which means, again, doing wrong, against the Lord your God, and have scattered all your way to strangers, and have not obeyed my voice, says the Lord. Return, backsliding children, for I am married unto you. Oh man, when I read that, it was like arrows going through my chest, like a sword going straight through my chest. And it actually says in the Bible that the words in the Bible, the word is like a sword. And it felt like that, because it just cut into my conscience, into my heart, into my mind, and I knew I'd done wrong, yet God wanted to forgive me, and he said he's married unto me. Now it's like cheating on someone you've married, because I'd already accepted Jesus into my life, but not fully, It's what the Bible calls a stony ground hearer. That's something else you can read about in the gospel, but basically it means you kind of accept it, but not fully, and you go away. You're deceived by the enemy, and for whatever reason you stop following God. And basically it says, I'll take you to Zion at the end. And I heard in reggae songs Zion, I knew it meant heaven. So again, I'm in floods of tears still at this point, and absolutely grateful and thankful that God would forgive me. But just, I don't know, words fail me really. But I'm still so thankful for God for that moment and that conversion. And I'm going to have to do a part 3 of this testimony for the last part, and I'll tell you what happened after that, but that was the real turning point, and I thank God.